Horror games. Now, I've never been much of a video gamer myself. That's just not really what I did with my time growing up. But obviously all my friends played video games, and my best friend Matt at the time was a huge video gamer. So even though I didn't dabble in that world, I was still aware of all the popular games through like hearing their conversations and just hanging out with them. And I know that I usually cover horror movies on this channel, but today I wanted to do something a little bit different and talk about horror games that actually scared me. So without further ado, let's begin. The first horror game I want to talk about is Slender Man, or Slender Man the 8 Pages. I remember the day my friend told me, like, there's this game, you gotta come over and play. And so I went over to the house in Carlsbad, California, right next to the beach, going into that small room, which was so creepy, and playing Slender Man for the first time. And I was hooked. I absolutely loved the game, and it was like a drug. I couldn't get enough of it. I remember going back home, wanting to download it, wanting to play all the different other versions that he mentioned, like the elementary school and the mansion. I was literally obsessed. And I'm not a video gamer, but the atmosphere of being in the woods at night alone just hits different, especially for me, because listen, I have done a lot of drugs. And I'm not saying that's a cool thing. I regret it sometimes, and I would not. Kids, stay in school. Do not follow in my footsteps. Drugs are bad. But for you to understand my fear of the woods at night, you have to understand me as a person, which is one day I was with my friends and we did acid. And whoop-de-doo, we had an idea to go on a hike in the woods at 1 a.m. So stupid. But you have to remember, you're not thinking completely straight when you're on drugs. You're not thinking through all the dangers and everything. We're just like, a hike in the woods on acid, this is gonna be trippy, bro, like Alice in Wonderland. And we went to the woods and we were hiking, and I remember seeing the silhouette of another human being walking towards us in the opposite direction. And the fear that I felt in that moment is undescribable, because we didn't even know if it's a guy or a girl. We just saw a shadow of a figure. You have no idea what the hell are they doing in the woods. No one should be hiking at this hour.
And we're on drugs, like for real, bro. Like,
I'm not trying to brag, I promise, but I do MMA. I know how to fight. But when you're on acid, I am not very confident in my skill set. You know what I mean? I'm tripping. So like, how could I defend myself? Now, there were 3 of us and only 1 of it, so I feel like that's why we just passed each other and nothing happened. But in the game, Slender Man, you are alone in the woods, and it just triggers that emotion in me. Plus, I love the fact that it's like a slow burn, and it really builds up the tension throughout the game, because first it's completely quiet in the woods, and then you start finding these pages that have these creepy messages on it. Then the music starts to intensify, and each time you get a page, it gets even creepier and louder. And then every now and then you get the static and you see him in the corner. I remember when I used to play that game with my friend Matt, we would do this thing 360 no scope, which was hilarious, but it was so scary because when we hear the static, we would feel like he's right behind us, and then we would do a 360 no scope and we would just catch like a blink of him, and then we would just sprint. Oh my god, bro. Memories. At the end of the day, that's all we got, guys. All we got is memories, man. That was an awesome memory. Wow, so deeper. But on top of all that, I feel like the urban legend of Slender Man, or the lore if you will, was super interesting and scary at the time. I mean, it's this lanky, faceless figure that abducts children. I mean, growing up when you're a kid, that is your worst fear. And seeing all the creepy images on the internet, I mean, it was really something that you could dig into, and it was really fun at the time. And super iconic. I mean, they literally made a movie about it, which we don't talk about the movie. And to this day, I have never beaten that game, bro. I've never gotten to 8 pages. I've gotten to 7 and started sprinting towards the bathroom, which was the last place we hadn't looked in. And then as soon as we got in there, he snatched us. So I've never had the pleasure of winning. The second game I want to talk about is SCP. Secure, Contain, Protect. I was riding off the high of Slender Man, and I literally went to my friend, which I've never done before, and asked him, yo, what are some cool scary games that are kind of similar to Slender Man? And he told me, bro, you gotta play SCP. So what did we do? We played SCP. And just like Slender Man, it immediately became a classic to me. And there are 2 main reasons why I love this game so much. Number 1 is the concept of SCP. I became obsessed. I mean, talk about a rabbit hole I digged into on YouTube is SCP videos. I used to binge watch all those videos. I mean, I could not get enough. I just love the idea because I feel like if there were monsters, or if there are monsters, like the government would have an organization dedicated to capturing them, learning about them, containing them, whatever it may be. But that was definitely a section of YouTube that I spent a lot of time in. But back to the game, what I found so unique about it are the scares. They're very different than like Slenderman, for example, or most horror games where you get a legit jump scare. The threat is not seen, and then all of a sudden, boom, the threat is there, loud sounds or music. Jump scares, right? Everyone knows what they are. But in this game, it's a lot more subtle because you see the threat immediately. As a matter of fact, you're constantly looking at it. And I call it the watermelon dude. I don't know why I called it that, but it just, to me, the head looked like a watermelon. I could be crazy, but I just saw red and green, a big oval head. So I was like, it's watermelon dude. That's how I go by it. But it's actually SCP-173, which if you don't know, you have to constantly look at it and it will be motionless. But as soon as you take your eyes off it, it can move and it gets closer. Holy cow, bro. It's a completely different type of fear. I mean, I find it much more nerve-wracking in my opinion, and I like to compare it to one of my favorite horror movies that I've seen recently, which is Hell House LLC Origins: The Carmichael Manor, because the clowns in that movie are essentially the same thing as SCP-173. If you look at them, they don't move, but you take your eyes off and then all of a sudden they're in a different spot and they're closer, almost like they're hunting you down. Very creepy movies that I highly recommend. But let's get back to the game. I don't remember if I beat this game either because I would just play when I was with my friend, but my god, when you would just look away for a second or the lights turned off and all of a sudden it's right there and it would get you. Oh my lord. Ay Dios mío señor, coño. The last game I want to talk about in this video is Five Nights at Freddy's. And I know you must be thinking, oh my god, this guy's just naming off popular games. I get it. But at the same time, they're popular for a reason. And I was absolutely thrilled when I first played Five Nights at Freddy's. I thought that was a genius idea of a game. The atmosphere is fantastic. And one of the reasons why I enjoy that game so much is because I can kind of relate to it because I used to work at two pizzerias. I used to work at Pizza Hut and then I worked at Domino's. They literally fired me from Pizza Hut and I was like, all right, y'all, I'm going to Domino's, your competitors, and I work for Domino's. Good old times. But in both of those stores, Domino's and Pizza Hut, whenever you go to the manager's office in the back, it looked very, very similar to the setup that you have in FNAF games. So I could not imagine spending a night in that office alone, watching the security cameras and shit moving around. No. And the sound effects. Obviously, what makes a jump scare super good is the loud music. Yes, the figures themselves are scary, but I love the sound of the door sliding and then them screaming. It's just fantastic. And then obviously it goes without saying that the designs of Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy, super creepy. And I know they've come out with a lot more games and they've improved on these designs, and the game I bet is much scarier. I haven't played any of those. I've just played the original one, and I really enjoy the entire story surrounding FNAF, because if you look at Slenderman or SCP, yes, SCP does have a lot of lore that you can dig into and it's very fun, but there's not like a story per se, and Slenderman even less. But Five Nights at Freddy's has a whole backstory to it, which makes it all the more creepier, and they even made a movie about it. Now, I personally felt disappointed with the movie. I was so excited for it. One, because I'm a huge fan of FNAF, but two, I was so excited to see Josh Hutcherson in a movie again, and Matthew Lillard. I was like, oh my god, everything is stacking up to be like, this is gonna be a good horror movie. And I know the fan base loves that movie, so don't come at me with pitchforks, okay? I'm just giving you my opinion. I just felt like they could have done better, and the movie didn't really live up to the hype, because oh my god, there was a ton of hype behind that movie. And bro, dude, like, I'm such a do you not see the FNAF collection of books here? I got all 3 books, bro. I've only read the first one. In all fairness, I have not read the second and third one. I plan on reading the second one before the second movie comes out, but the first book was fantastic. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah, I love Five Nights at Freddy's. I hope they would go with the book story other than the story that they went with, but that's besides the point. The game is super scary, and that empty void and you being there accompanied with these animatronics, I feel like the fear is a lot more palpable in this game. But that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments some horror games that you enjoy, because like I said, I'm not a video gamer, so I am not an expert in this arena. Those are really the only horror games that I indulged in, but I know there's a ton more out there, so please let me know down in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.